Alright, hey, it's Jess from Any Kind Sweets, and today we're going to be making haupia pie, which is one of Hawaii's traditional staple desserts. If you haven't tried it yet, you're going to love it. So what I like to do is start with the butter. You need extra cold butter for your pie crust. So this just came out of the freezer, and you want to cut it into cubes no larger than an inch. When you chop up your butter and you put it in your bowl, you also want to make sure that you break it apart. So when you put it into the mixer, it's not all chunky. One of the tricks that's to get a flaky pie crust is making sure that you don't have too much water in your crust and that your butter is evenly coating your flour so it doesn't come out too dry, because nobody likes a dry pie crust, let's be real.
Look at all that butter.
It's pretty much the healthiest ingredient in this pie crust. This is also one of the easiest pie crusts you can make. Alright, so there we have our butter. That's good, ready to go. Then we're going to use our flour. We're going to add that into the food processor first. So it's going to be 2.5 cups of flour to 2 sticks of butter.
That was 2 and what?
2.5.
2.5.
2.5 cups of flour. Put that in the food processor. And then we're going to add our butter.
Just all at once? Or do you
All
do
at
it?
once,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Alright. Once that's in there, you're going to pulse it. You don't want to leave it on. You want to make sure that everything gets evenly distributed.
How can you tell it's in there?
It starts to look a little sandy. I like to kind of sift through it.
So you can feel it.
Feel it and look at it. You'll see the texture when I'm done. I'll show you what the texture looks like. You just want to make sure that you don't have any too big of chunks of butter left in there.
If that happens, what happens to the crust?
You'll have big air pockets because when it melts, it'll be too big of a pocket. So you'll either have a hole in your crust or it'll just be really uneven. That looks pretty good. You can see there what it kind of looks like. Alright, so once we have the butter and the flour kind of even, or the flour evenly coated by the butter, we're going to add ice water. We add ice water to keep everything really cold, and that's what helps make your pie crust really flaky and light, not dry. I like to add 4 spoons at a time just to make sure that it doesn't get overly wet. So we're going to add 4 spoons first, and then we're going to turn it back on.
Interesting.
I wish I knew more about science. Okay. So there's 4. And I'm just going to pulse it again.
What I learned from Jamba Juice is that when you pulse it, it does actually help it mix better.
Because it gets like stuck in like a rhythm,
Yeah.
right?
What happens is the bottom gets blended more than the top.
So it doesn't like evenly distribute. So you can see the texture's changing. And you don't need a lot of water. That's why you should only add 4 at a time.
I see it.
See it's changing? That's what we want to see. Now it's kind of starting to form again.
I see it forming. It looks malleable now.
The way I like to test it to see if it's ready is if I take a piece of it and it comes together and it sticks like that. Done. So we got a good dough there. It's not sticky. Still has some good texture to it. So then after that's done, let's clean our counters. Safety first. Get this bad boy out. I'm just gonna plop it out here on the counter.
I did sanitize the counter.
Beautiful.
As you put it down.
Get it into like one nice it feels a little bit sticky, you can add a little bit of flour to the counter, but you don't want to add too much because you don't want to make it too dry. This actually feels really good. So after I do that,
that looks amazing.
I like to wrap it up in saran wrap and then put it in the refrigerator for a couple hours or the freezer, so 1 to 2 hours, or I put it in the freezer for 30 minutes before I roll it out. So we'll do that next.
Tips. Always put salt in it.
You put salt in it?
Some recipes call for it, but I like to use salted butter because it's already
Oh,
in.
salted
And
butter.
to me that evenly distributes it. What? It's pie crust, bro.
Wait, I didn't know it was salted butter.
I probably should have said that. Okay, so after the dough's been in the refrigerator for 1 to 2 hours, so you put it in the freezer for 30 minutes, it has like a nice stiffness to it.
Oh wow,
nice
that's really
texture.
stiff.
Just how I like it. Before you roll it out, you do want to put a little bit of flour down. Just so when you have a nice even pie crust rolled out, it doesn't get messed up when it's stuck to the counter. Because there is a little bit of pressure when you use your rolling pin.
Super like rock hard. Do you want a heavier thing to beat it with?
I think this is good. This is like my classic rolling pin. This was my noni's, and then it was my mom's, and now it's mine. Yeah.
And then you coat the that in case.
Just a light flour, just so it doesn't stick. And then you'll be able to just roll it out. Now, depending on what size pie pan you use, you don't want to roll it too thin, first of all. But you also want to roll it out to be 1 inch bigger. So if you're using a 9, you want to make sure you cut out a 10-inch circle, just so it has enough to go up the sides, and you can make the crust look nice.
That is some work.
Putting in work every single day. This is actually my favorite part.
Is it?
It's like all those satisfying videos that you watch all the time.
yeah.
You want to make sure it's rolled out evenly, not bigger on one side.
You kind of put your frustration on things. It is kind of satisfying.
Make sure it's not getting stuck. You can always put a little bit more flour if you feel you need to. And I can feel that it's a little bit thicker on this side, so we'll roll it out a little bit more.
And you could simply know that it's thicker by just feeling the top, or do you lift it up?
You
can feel it.
like this, yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot easier to feel when you lift it up, definitely. Even
What
as
happens if you
possible.
make it too thin on one side by accident?
You'll just have a little bit thinner of a pie crust. The more you do it, the easier it gets. But you don't want it to be too uneven because you want every slice to be just as nice. Really have to care too much about the edges because we're going to cook them. So this is usually what I use, or if I'm going to a friend's house, I'll use one of the disposable like tin pies. Let's do that real quick, just so you can see kind of where the edges are. And then I'm going to try and go at least 1 inch out.
If you had a pizza cutter, that would have been the ideal, right?
Pizza cutters work great because then you can just do one quick circle. But this is a great knife and it works great. Take off that excess. Or it can be used for another pie crust.
Nice.
Or if this was a pie that you wanted, like apple pie or anything with like a berry filling or any filling that had a top, you could use that for the lattice on top.
Oh. And how long is the dough good for?
I put mine to the freezer. I usually freeze it for like up to a month, maybe 2.
Oh.
You don't want to leave it too long just because the freezer kind of dries things out too. You just fit it in there. Use your knuckles to get it all the way to the corners. And then you can use your fingers to work it up the sides.
That looks good.
Some people like to use forks to make their crusts. I like to use my knuckles. So what I do is I use one knuckle to make the form, and then I use my other fingers to go around it. So this is how I like to make my edges look. But again, you can use a fork any way that you like to do it.
So that just creates texture?
It just creates a nice little crust.
Oh, more opportunity for crusting.
Yeah.
Is that even a word?
I think we just made it one.
Okay.
And if you have little tears, that's okay.
Crusting opportunity.
That's going to be the new fetch.
Was fetch ever a thing?
It was.
It really was? I don't remember this.
So after you've chilled your pie crust, that's going to help it keep its shape as well. So This is gonna go in without a filling, so you wanna make sure that you use a fork to poke some holes because it will kind of create an air pocket at the bottom, and this will help with the air so it's not trapped in there. So I just poke some holes in there with my fork.
Nice.
And then we're gonna put it in the oven. Start with like 12 minutes and then check if it's golden brown, and then we'll go from there.
And what are we putting the oven on? We preheated it.
We preheated the oven to 350. 350, and then we're gonna do it for 12 minutes.
12 minutes. Hey Google. Oh, it is boiling.
So now,
Is it boiling?
it is, it's reaching it up.
Oh, it is boiling.
Alright,
I
so
see.
now that this is really starting to boil, it's bubbles.
It sure is boiling. And then we're gonna put our cornstarch.
Yep. And that whole mixture in there. And then we're gonna stir it until it gets thick.
Nice.
See how it's starting to thicken up?
Oh, it is. That's so quick. Huh?
I was smelling it, my glasses got all fogged. So we're gonna take 2 ladles of this and put it in its own pot.
Two separate. Oh, okay. We're separating it.
Yes, because there's 2 separate fillings. That's gonna go on top. Maybe we'll do 2 in there. There's a lot left in here.
Oh, it is getting really thick.
Then add our dark chocolate chips, at least 62% chocolate for the best flavor and for the best consistency for your filling. We're just gonna save a little bit for our topping.
Okay. Just to put on top
Then we're just gonna mix it in. The chocolate's
while it's
gonna
hot.
melt itself into that custard.
Nice. And you keep it chunky.
You're gonna do it until you see no chunks of
Oh,
chocolate,
no
until it's all
chunks.
melted in. If you have to put it back on the stove, you can. Just make sure you watch it.
At this point, it could burn. You probably don't want to do that, right?
It depends on if the chocolate fully melts in or not. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. As long as you keep it on low, you should be fine. I don't see too many chunks of chocolate in there. I'm gonna put it on just to be safe, make sure I got everything out. So that's what your chocolate part's gonna look like.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I wish you could smell this. It smells so good. Alright, so now that part's done, the haupia is done. So we're just gonna wait for the pie crust to be done, and then we're gonna layer it.
Do you let the crust settle after it's been baked?
Yeah, I let it sit for a couple minutes before I add anything in, just to make sure it's not too hot before it goes in. But it doesn't have to be completely, I usually don't wait till it completely cooks.
Okay, because we don't want to wait.
Yeah. I'm gonna put it in. Kai, watch out. Come on, I told you the part that you can do. You can help me decorate the top and decorate the cookies.
And you can eat the cookies.
Alright, so now we're gonna put the powdered sugar in. Just like that. And then we're just gonna throw it on the mixer.
Nice. Let's see the mixer. You know, you're the only person that uses this thing. Be careful, because
Hold on,
your
babe.
mom's
I'll
butt
get
is
it.
right there.
I'll get it, babe.
She wants to burn your butt.
Gosh, why do you want to do everything to me right now?
Do you put any eggs in there?
Not in the whipped cream.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of floofy. It wants to be a croissant,
Yeah,
but in this life,
it's gonna be a pie. Let that cool for a little bit, and then we're gonna add the filling. So after we let it cool a little bit, we're gonna add our first layer, which is the chocolate coconut custard.
ooh.
Yummy, yummy in my tummy. Every last
massaging it.
I could use a massage.
Your twinkle toes. You could probably step on your mom.
She always promises me 10 minutes and I get about 1. See how stiff it gets?
Yeah, that is your word.
Stiff. So after the chocolate, we're gonna add the haupia on top.
Oh my gosh. Looks like toothpaste. Well, I would love to brush my teeth with this.
I bet you would. You know who else would love if you brushed your teeth with chocolate? The dentist.
Yay!
Because he'd be making more money off of me. Now we just let this sit and get cool enough that we can add the whipped cream because we don't want the whipped cream to melt, obviously.
Oh yeah.
So we're almost done. Now we're gonna add the top layer, which is chantilly cream, which is just a fancy name for whipped cream. If you want to use a piping bag, you can do that way, or you can use a spoon and just make like a fancy product. So I put some there. Put some blobs everywhere. And we can use our spoon to make a pattern with it.
For some reason, that scraping is triggering.
It's true.
Yeah. I should focus on what you're actually doing, but I just hear the scraping. Oh, you actually think it's satisfying for the scraping?
Just like how I think rolling out the dough is satisfying.
We all have our thing.
Don't we all?
When they have hairballs? Okay. I mean, I might have to bring my cats back for you.
Okay. It's a weird flex. Okay, you can top your pie however you want. You can use cocoa powder. You can put chocolate chips in the food processor and sprinkle them on top. I like to put whole chocolate chips on mine for a little bit of extra texture. So grab some. And then we just sprinkle them all over, just like this. Sure, what does that mean?
Gordon Ramsay? That's Salt Daddy.
Get them all over so you have chocolate in every bite. You could do a chocolate drizzle too. However you want. You can even do toasted coconut.
Ooh. How would you toast coconuts? In the...
I like to get not the strips of coconut, but the shade. It's like a grated coconut, so it's like it almost looks like sand. You can get it at it's in the organic aisle usually, or at Trader Joe's, and then put it evenly out on a baking sheet. Mix a little bit of sugar with it, and then put it in the oven for like 350 for like 5 minutes till it's golden brown, and then you just sprinkle that on top too.
Nice.
Or you can have the best of both worlds and do everything.
Perfect.
And look at that.
Gorgeous.
Isn't she pretty?
She is. That's a good thumbnail.
Turned out good. So the best way to store this after it's cool enough, you want to put it in the refrigerator and just make sure that it's chilled because this pie is best served cold. So if you guys have any questions about what we did today, you're welcome to leave them in the comments. There's also links below in the comments for products that we used today, and